This is the whitest man in the history of pro wrestling, and he has the star ratings to prove it. Tastes like cracker. Dave Meltzer didn't create the 5-star rating system, but he did popularize it. Geriatric Dave's scoring system has been subject to heated debate. The rise and fall of AEW has coincided with the fall of what's left of Dave's credibility, and Dave's star ratings have fallen right with him. It's important to note that Meltzer the Fellator's analysis of wrestling matches is just his opinion. Nothing more, everything less. There's nothing special about Dave's star ratings outside of the fact that he's been doing it forever, so they've always just been there. Dave is one of the most trusted sources in all of wrestling, which is like being the least corrupt slave owner, or as I like to call him, Thomas Jefferson. I love all wrestling, black, white, Puerto Rican, and Asian, unlike Dave, who just likes white and Asian. Pro Wrestling Bits is a friend to all wrestling communities. We even had an all-white March Mayonnaise wrestling tournament last year with over 100,000 votes. Congrats to AJ Styles. Dave's opinion on wrestling is just as flawed as any due to bias, cronyism, and Dave's own fetishizing of certain styles. Styles guaranteed to get a perfect score if they game his system the right way. 1 plancha plus 7 chops plus 2 backflips times 8 tiger drivers divided by injury risk minus 1 black person plus Will Ospreay equals 5 stars. If Dave Meltzer is a Sega Genesis, Will Ospreay is a game genie. He's a Meltzerian cheat code. Ospreay and Omega just have to wrestle any match, and Dave will reward them with meaningless stars like a Pavlovian dog. Put it this way. That's Pavlovian for super worker. Doggy Dave's fetishes are mostly Japanese wrestling and Caucasian international wrestling, but Dave ain't got shit for you niggas. When it comes to star ratings, Dave Meltzer treats black people like pizza crusts. Just a throwaway portion of the pizza slice that he'll only eat if it's stuffed with white in the middle. Today, we're gonna talk about Dave Meltzer's bullshit star ratings and why his hard-on for a specific style of wrestling will always leave black wrestlers on the outside looking in. Having said that, we're also gonna talk about why that's a good thing for black wrestlers. Subscribe in Swahili.
What's good? Come get your free PWB sticker. You can stick me on your smartphone so I can listen to all your conversations like the government. But I won't tell anyone. I'll just judge quietly. I'm a healthy adhesive. Just post me on a MacBook because apples are delicious. We can even stick it to the man and jump on a cop car together. Whee! Because, hey, where you going, you selfish son of a... Is that all you got, you hoe-ass pigs?
Get your free stickers by clicking the link in the description. Dave Meltzer is an institution in pro wrestling, primarily on message boards. The deeper into the weird little crevices of wrestling you get, the more likely you're familiar with Dave Meltzer, which is not something I'm proud of. Meltzer is known for his know-it-all brand of pro wrestling reporting. Even when he's wrong, which happens all the time, he swears he's right. The Mr. Magoo of wrestling, Dave had such a mistake-filled year, I posted a top 10 list of his fuck-ups in 2024, and it was one of the most competitive top 10 lists I've ever made. This really could have and should have been like the PWI 500. Shouts to Dutch Mantel's podcast for covering that list. I see you, Dutch. Dave's been the editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter since the age of 10, which is why even at age 65, the Observer is written at a 5th grade level. One of Dave's most popular features of the Observer, other than retractions, is his star ratings. A 5-star match is considered a classic. And if your name ends in a vowel, you're even more likely to have a treasure trove of them. Meltzer's star rating system dates back to April of 1982. And guess what? The first ever 5-star rating was awarded to a black man who just so happened to wrestle Ric Flair. That would go on to become a theme for Meltzer and his 5-star favoritism. Butch Reed didn't get a 5-star match as much as Ric Flair's opponent did. Ric Flair is one of Meltzer's favorites, and as one of the GOATs, why shouldn't he be? But a white savior has always been a necessary ingredient for black wrestlers to get the elusive 5-star rating from Cracker Dave. In fact, it's been 15,614 days and counting since a 5-star rating was awarded to an exclusively black match. In other words, a black 5-star match has never happened. Not for Swerve versus Lashley, not for Mercedes versus Willow Nightingale, not for Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair, not for Junkyard Dog versus Butch Reed, not for Booker T versus The Rock, not for AR Fox versus Shane Taylor. If you're Dave Meltzer, black wrestling matches are bathroom breaks because David is scared of us and needs somewhere to hide.
Booker T versus The Rock at SummerSlam only got 3 stars. Neither Booker or The Rock have ever had a 5-star match. What the hell is going on? Booker T has never had a 5-star match because Booker T ends in a T, and T is a consonant, not a vowel. What the hell is going on? Wait a minute. Booker T stole some of Meltzer's stars. He found them in Meltzer's messy office. There was underneath a pile of love letters to Will Ospreay. Booker T about to change the star rating. Boom! Booker T and Rocky about to have the first black 5-star match in history. Boom! Booker T got 5 stars and he wants more. Boom! Oh!
Meltzer's 5-star rating is like a country club that black people are almost not invited to. And the only way we can attend is if we're accompanied by a white chaperone. Oh, this one's too easy. Like a crackerone. The only black wrestlers who ever get 5-star ratings have to do so by wrestling a Meltzer-approved white man. Dave calls them super workers, but they all check the same exact Caucasian, flippy-dippy grappler box, so essentially they're super crackers. Swerve Strickland has had 3 5-star matches, but only because he wrestled Bryan Danielson, Will Ospreay, and Hangman Adam Page. Super crackers. Ricky Starks needed super cracker Bryan Danielson to get his meaningless 5-star match. Michael Oku needed the cracker cosign from Will Ospreay. There's only been one time where Dave Meltzer gave 2 black men a 5-star rating in the same match, but only because that match also featured 4 white wrestlers. Ricochet and Velveteen Dream needed quadruple the caucasity in order to share the glory that is the fake 5-star match. That's Dave's bias. That's his fetish. Among Dave's teacher's pets, or top 10 wrestlers with the most 5-star matches or higher, 2 are white and the rest are Japanese. Wikipedia even has a list of wrestlers with 5-star matches broken down by nationality. Of course, Japanese is number 1 with 105, followed by the United States. And by the United States, I mean the Aryan race and the 7 black guys who wrestled them. Then it goes Mexico, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Africa. I'm just playing. Dave Meltzer does not care about black people. I just wanted to see if you were paying attention. The Wrestling Observer newsletter is basically pro wrestling anime, or like a manga. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because I feel like the Japanese are starting to catch strays on this app. Among the wrestlers with the most matches above 5 stars, 9 are white and 7 are Japanese. New Japan Pro Wrestling has the most 5-star matches with 99, followed by New Japan Wannabe AEW with 38 5-star matches in just 6 years. This bias was brought to Dave's attention in a now infamous interview with Chris Van Vliet.
WWE's had 9 in their entire history. AEW has had 21 in 4 years.
AEW's wrestlers work much harder to in that style.
New Japan has 82 5-star or better
Yeah,
matches.
well, that
82.
I mean, I know, and
TNA has 1.
Yeah,
WWE
well,
has 9. Like, it just seems like you know, there's a certain style of match that you prefer, and that's
well, I mean,
totally
it's,
okay.
Dave loves AEW because they try so hard to be like New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Tony Khan is the booker. Always remember, Tony Khan used to be a junior correspondent for the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which is like being a court reporter in a trial of slow adults. I'm not asking David the slow adult to change a damn thing, by the way. Black people are up in pro wrestling right now, and it has nothing to do with Dave Meltzer. I'd like to keep it that way. Dave has his own little corner of wrestling analysis that only caters to New Japan superfans, all while neglecting niggas. If your name doesn't end in a vowel, forget about it. It's Dave Meltzer's top 5 5-star wrestlers, starting with an honorable mention for Number 5, Number 4, Number 3, Kenny Omega. Number 2, and number 1, Will Ospreay. There's a clear and obvious bias that comes with Dave's ratings, and they're not to be taken seriously. In fact, 2024 was an indictment on AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Both promotions struggled with ticket sales. Rampage got canceled, New Japan was axed from Access TV, ticket sales faltered, advances continue to flatline for both promotions, so the fact that Dave Meltzer uses his whole throat to fillet AEW and New Japan is a good indicator of what's not cool in pro wrestling. Think about it this way, if it's in Dave's throat, it is not the GOAT. It's got to kill Meltzer that AEW Dana White gets routinely destroyed in viewership by African NXT. If you're a Will Ospreay type or a Jay White type, God love him, and you find yourself caked in star rating, chances are you're not one of the top draws in the business. CM Punk said it best.
If you're more happy with some goof saying that you had a 5-star match and the building's a quarter full, we're not in the same business.
Dave Meltzer seeks out lesser-known brands of wrestling to showcase wrestlers through his star ratings. To me, that's a good thing. Independent and international promotions get a platform because Dave wants you to learn about what's on the cutting edge of pro wrestling. Dave reads, he learns, he studies, but unfortunately he failed African American studies. Some will argue that there just aren't very many all-black classics that come to mind when it comes to 5-star matches, but that bullshit is because they only study Dave Meltzer's whitewash fetishes. Trying to learn about black wrestling from Dave Meltzer is like trying to learn about women's history from Vince McMahon. Dave Meltzer is a wrestling historian, but he majors in white history. Remember, this is the man who spends every February writing 140,000 words for the entire month without ever talking about black history in wrestling. Ever.
February is Black History Month. So here's every single word written this month in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. All 140,000 words. Let's see how many times this unbiased journalist with his unbiased agenda wrote about black history. Let's try the word Black History Month. Nope. Black people? No. Black wrestler? No. African? Nope. Not one single solitary word about the culture during February. See, this is what marginalization looks like, by the way. But Dave is from a different time, so God forbid, let's try colored. No, thank God. Blacks? Negro? 9 times the Oh, he's talking about luchadors. He meant negro. Let's try Negroes. No. Darkies? What about niggas? Yeah, that better not be in the motherfucking Observer. So this man wrote over 140,000 words during Black History Month without once bothering to talk about black history.
Top nigga Kendrick Lamar once said, "Peekaboo, I just put some boogers in my chain. Peekaboo, 80 pointers like a Kobe game." Do you think for 1 second Dave Meltzer could translate any of those references? Do you think he cares? By the way, Peekaboo is the perfect description of black wrestlers with 5-star matches. You'll see him every now and then for a second, then they'll disappear for decades. Peekaboo, Butch Reed had a classic with Ric Flair. Peekaboo, no niggas got 5 stars for 30 years. Dave Meltzer does not care about black people. That's not to say he's racist. It's just not his fetish. Dave's fetish is strictly Japanese, white international, a little lucha libre, and if a black person gets a 5-star match, it's because he was along for the ride. That's right, I said he, because Dave Meltzer looks at black women in wrestling the way Tony Khan looks at Ricky Starks these days. When seeking out his 5-star fetishes, Dave studies New Japan, All Japan, AEW, PWG, Rev Pro, Stardom, ROH, Noah, and a little WWE here and there because he has to. CMLL and AAA can get it too. But Milky Meltzer is not scouting Naptown All Pro Wrestling, Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, GCW For the Culture, Ashe Wrestling, Fight Club Pro Wrestling, Reality of Wrestling, Terminus, Pan-African World Diaspora Wrestling World Championship matches, or any black wrestling promotions that maybe he can learn and study all the black talent wrestling has to offer outside of Europe and Japan. The only black people Dave Meltzer is interested in spending time around are the few who wrestle Will Ospreay. So of course there are gonna be black blind spot in these bullshit star ratings. When NFL panels vote for Hall of Famers, they must answer the question, can you tell the story of the NFL without including this athlete? If the answer is no, they're a Hall of Famer. Let's do the same exact test with Sling Blade Dave's star ratings and who has never had a 5-star match. Can you tell the story of pro wrestling without The Rock? Without Kurt Angle? Without Booker T? Without Sweet Daddy Siki? Can you tell the story of pro wrestling without Roman Reigns? No, you can't. These are just a few of the legendary wrestlers who have never had a 5-star match according to Dave. The only stories that can be told through Meltzer's 5-star matches are bedtime stories. Dave once said if he wasn't a mistake-prone wrestling reporter, he'd be a top NFL reporter. That way he could cover some of his favorite athletes like Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes was on the shows. When the show started, it was Patrick Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, I mean, he is the biggest star, or at least biggest sports star, because Patrick Mahomes was a total heel on the show. That's why Patrick Mahomes was there. Because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes.
And Mahomes has his 3 Super Bowl rings on.
Braun was going to attack Mahomes.
Imagine if Eggshell Dave had a 5-star system to rate quarterbacks. He would have a fetish for a specific technique of quarterback play. All the electrifying black quarterbacks who are dominating the NFL would get punished because they didn't play like more traditional quarterbacks. If you scramble and run out the pocket like Mike Vick, Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, or Patrick Mahomes, you'd get docked a star. To impress Dave, you'd have to studiously go through your progressions and patiently stand in the pocket. Dave would be writing 2,000-word run-on sentences about how Jayden Daniels is not a 5-star quarterback because he runs too much. Maybe if he played more like Chase Daniels, he'd be worth 5 stars. Who cares if Lamar Jackson is flirting with his 3rd MVP season as a running quarterback? If you want 5 stars, you better play the position the right way, inside the pocket. Kirk Cousins would be Dave Meltzer's Will Ospreay. No lie, if Dave Meltzer booked the NFL Hall of Fame, he would only induct Japanese running backs. Shit will be emptier than the hard camera side of Collision. Check out this video and subscribe. Why is Dave Meltzer so scared of black wrestling? Wrong answers only. Tell me in the comments!